Celeb Savant is a career retrospective type interview focusing on singers, actors, and industry experts. Join Barrett Edelstein now as he dives into the entertainment world.
South African actress Shannon Esra was cast in her first professional acting role at the age of 16 in the feature film I Dreamed of Africa alongside Kim Basinger and Daniel Craig. In 2003, Shannon graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Dramatic Arts. That same year, she found herself debuting in her first professional theatre production at the Pieter Torin's Monte Cassino Theatre. It was her portrayal of Neats in Dorothy Ann Gould's 2004 theatre production Japes, which garnered Shannon the Naledi Award for Best Performance by a Newcomer or Breakthrough, as well as a Fleur de Cup nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Shannon's film and TV credits include Isidingo, Snatch, Hard Copy, The Lab, The Triangle, Number 10, The Game Changers, Madiba, and many more. Shannon also headlined Mnet's hit show Lioness, a family thriller about a woman who loses her children, her lover, and her freedom when she's framed for fraud committed by her husband before his death. Shannon's portrayal of Samantha Hugo earned her a SAFTA nomination for Best Actress in a TV drama. In 2021, Shannon made unprecedented South African television history with her character Sandra Stein, the ruthless and most sought-after criminal attorney who represents various characters across the Mzansi Magic platform. Sandra has crossed over between The Queen, The River, The Throne, Gomorrah, Mnet's Legacy, and most recently, Season 2 of Law, Love and Betrayal. Up next on Celeb Savant, we've got Shannon Esra. Where in the world are you and how are you doing?
I am currently in Cape Town and I'm on location. And I'm doing fantastically, Barrett. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. It's always lovely to have a chat with you. At what age, whether as a child or teenager, did you think, okay, I want to be in this world of entertainment? And how did that journey progress?
I was 15. I was on set. It was my first professional production. I was with Kim Basinger on I Dreamed of Africa. And I think it was like a couple of weeks in, and I just thought there is no other place in the world that I would prefer to be. I just knew that this was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
That movie, I Dream of Africa with Kim Basinger, was that your first foray into being in front of the camera?
No, I had done, I hosted a TV show just before that called Super Kids. We did season 1 and 2. But the hosting of a show, that didn't set me into the same mindset as inhabiting a character and being on set in this beautiful make-believe world where, you know, they built almost everything from scratch that needed to be built. And I was just so blown away by the whole process and also just the process of sitting around with the younger cast, because there was quite a diverse group of, you know, young teenagers, and we'd sit around playing cards. We'd actually, I don't know if you know the game Shithead.
Oh, no.
That's one of the best card games. And we just sit for hours and hours and 8 hours waiting for, you know, lighting setups, waiting for scene changes, location changes, and just thought this is by far and away the best way to spend your life, on a set with fabulous people. And every set is different. Every location is different. Every production is different. It's just so dynamic, full of surprises.
So you referenced the waiting and the lighting and the makeup and so forth. A lot of people who just watch shows and not in the industry think, okay, it's quick 1, 2, 3. They don't realize there's a lot of waiting around, longer hanging around as the sets are being put together, etc., etc. Now, you had this first experience of playing games with your colleagues in that set. Do you still enjoy the waiting around, or has that ever gotten to you in any of the sets that you've been on?
Barrett, I am the worst actor when it comes to waiting. I hate it. I want to go. I want no waiting time. If I could have my way, it would be like a couple of minutes. But that is just not the name of the game. And the funny thing is that as actors, we actually spend more time waiting than we do in front of camera. So in that waiting time, it's that ample opportunity to like be ready when they call action, because time is so precious. But I'm terrible and I can't nap. I'm so envious of actors who can just, like cats, they'll just like sit down. They'll be like, all right, cool, guys. It'll be like an hour to gone. I'm pacing up and down. I'm like a racehorse chomping at the bit, wanting to get out, you know?
So now you had that first experience in the movie set, as you mentioned, at the age of 15, and you thought to yourself, okay, this is my goal, this is my path. What were the next steps to you then becoming professional?
It was quite interesting. My late aunt, she was not late then, she was very much present, but she had said to me, oh, well, now, you know, if this is something that you want to do, you should take a meeting with an agent. And my parents were a little bit reticent because obviously I had to finish high school and I was set on, you know, studying medicine. Anyway, so my late aunt Vicky, she gave us a couple of numbers and I went and I sat down with the very late, great Mooneen Lee. As anyone knows who ever sat in Moon's office, you know, she sat a little higher than you, all these primary colors of red, blue, and yellow in this Art Deco office of hers. And she sat there and stared me down and she said, is there anything I can do to dissuade you from going into this industry? It's awful. So I looked at her. I looked at my mother and I said, no. And she said, fine, then this is my advice. She said, go and finish high school and go and study drama. And when you are finished, when you're about to finish, you contact me again. So contact me in your 4th year. And I logged it, banked it, filed it away, finished high school, went to Wits University. And in my 4th year, we had our black box productions where we could invite agents. And I sent her a headshot of me. Well, it wasn't really even a headshot. It was like a really great photo that someone had taken of me at my 21st birthday. I mean, like in this black shirt, red tie. I sent her this picture and I hand-delivered my photo and a letter that I'd written, not handwritten, I typed it out. I said, I don't know if you remember me. My name is Shannon Esra. I met with you and I explained when. And I said, and you always said that, you know, I should go and I should study drama. I said, I did exactly as you said I did. I should. And I now have a production I would love for you to come and watch me in. We were doing a 4-hander of Decadence, which is unusual because it's usually a 2-hander. And obviously I'd seen Fiona Ramsey and Michael Richards in their last show at the Theatre on the Square. She came to watch the show. She remembered me and she waited outside for me and she said, come to my office in the week. And she gave me a date and I went in and she signed me right then and there. And I just thought, oh my word. And then it wasn't even a month later and I was cast in Japes, directed by Dorothy Ann Gould, starring Ashley Dowds and Niels van Jaarsveld. And that was my first theatre debut with at the Monte Casino. And then it just took off from there.
How important, and this is a discussion for the listener, how important do you feel it is to log those conversations in your brain and remember them and to contact those people who suggested those contacts? Because a lot of people, you know, they hear that, oh, contact us in 3-4 years at your last year, or contact me in 3 weeks. And they sort of brush it aside because they think, oh, that person won't remember me. But I'm very much like you. I'm tenacious. I make that note in my diary and I make sure I contact that person. How important do you feel in this industry or any industry it is to keep those dates locked in and to action on those things?
I think it's imperative. And I also think, and what I really valued about that, and I remember when I first met with her, I was a little disheartened because as a teenager, you want things now. There's like an immediate gratification that you want to, there's an itch and you want to scratch it. But that patience and, as you said, that tenacity that's key to what it is that we do. And I think what it does is it instills the essence of, in a career like this, you want longevity. And that means making very careful choices, not rushing to things. You know, my father always says, you act in haste, repent in leisure. And there was nothing hasty about it. And listening is one of our most important skills, not only as humans, but as actors, actually. to listen. So I think when we hear those conversations and when the listeners, should they want to be in this industry, and someone says, just wait, go, if you can study, go and hone the craft, go and develop your skills. It's important because what you get in that kind of environment is so magical and so liberating and so safe. There's such a wonderful containment about it. And then there's the other side of it, which is when you're in the industry, and then that's the school of life learning. And that's when you get that real onset experience. But no, if that is something that is said, log it in, bank it, file it away, and access it when the time is right. Because I'm a big believer that the universe brings exactly what it's meant to you at the right time.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Having the concept of being or wanting to be in the industry as a teenager, then studying it, but then moving professionally in it, were there any aspects of being professional, either on stage or in front of the camera, that surprised you, that you didn't realize would be part of the process that actually is and was?
I think I've been very lucky in that from very early on, like from day one, I had actors who were a little bit more seasoned, a little bit older than me, who would pass down some handy, helpful tips. And one of the most important tips I ever got was, and for me, because it just shows a courtesy to the other people that you're working with on crew, don't leave your clothes on the floor. Just hang them up. It makes wardrobe's job a little bit easier because they're first in and they are last out. So it was tidy up around you, hang up your clothes, be very kind to the makeup department, be respectful of the makeup department, and never, ever, ever discuss money with any other actor or person on set. Those were the 3 key pieces of advice I received on day one, I think, of I Dreamed of Africa. And it just instills a work ethic. And also, obviously, to always be on time and know your lines. But that kind of comes with the territory, especially if you're theatre trained. I mean, you're not going to walk into your opening night and you haven't opened your book. You know what I mean? I have nightmares of that nature constantly, and it's my worst, where I'm 5 minutes from curtain up. I don't know what I'm performing. I don't know my lines. I can't find my script. It's just like, that'll be the death of me, that nightmare. Yeah, and then I just think being around people who've been around doing it a lot longer than you, that's where you'll just learn so much. Just listen, absorb, observe.
What do you love about portraying other characters?
Oh, I just love that I can completely evacuate myself. I love it. You know that, Barrett, I read something so fascinating the other day that scientists have been conducting experiments on actors specifically, and they've put them in MRI machines when they are in rehearsal process or when they've spent a long time with a character. And when asked questions about themselves as the character, the parts of their brain that they would assume would light up didn't. It's scientifically proven that we as the actor, when we're inhabiting a character, it's a totally different persona and person that becomes present in the brain. So I love the fact that I can evacuate myself and I get to inhabit someone else's world, life, experience. Look, of course, it's interpretive and essentially it is for the actor to interpret it in a certain way, but you carve out all these stories for yourself to help motivate, inspire yourself. And, it's such a delicate, beautiful process. Well, to me, in any case. And I love playing. I just love the energy. I just love what starts happening between actors when you start like unpacking a scene and when you start, riffing a little bit and it's just this, it's kinetic and it's so connected. I love it.
For you, what is the difference between being on theatre or being on stage in theatre compared to being in front of the camera?
Well, if you make a mistake when you're in front of the camera, you can go, can we go again? If it's theatre, there is no, sorry, can we go? We're just going to start again. We're just going to go from, can we just go from over here? We take it back a beat. And also the performance style is completely different. I always say, acting for theatre, there's a triangle. And you are the apex of the triangle and you're acting out towards an auditorium. And so the emotional world, which is here, you kind of have to magnify it and amplify it outward. Whereas with camera, it's reversed. the apex becomes that camera. So all this inner truth, it's really so distilled into just, it's small, everything comes down. So instead of everything going up, everything's coming down. Acting is acting, but I don't even like saying that we're acting, because it's so much more than that. You are inhabiting, you are embodying, but there are technical processes. Vocally, theater that's a totally different beast. And I know that when I'm on film sets, I know that I'm a bit troubling for the sound guys, because I like to make everything very quiet. I want it all to be so I often have, sorry, can you just come up a little bit in volume? I'm like, can you maybe move the mic somewhere else? Like, can we put it in my hair or somewhere so that I don't have to do that? Because the machinations about it they're quite different.
Now, for theatre, dependent on the run, but an audience member will see maybe 1 or 2 shows. But when you guys are on theatre, sometimes it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, 8 shows a week, very busy, very intense. How do you personally maintain your energy, body, mind balance during a theatre run?
You just do. You eat right. You hydrate. You take care of yourself. You find the balance. But also, I think you mentally are prepared for a certain period of time. You know that there's a start and there's an end to it. So I think more of that it's a mental process. Look, I mean, usually after a show, depending on the show, for instance, after My Left Breast, I would be quite exhausted afterwards. And then there were other times when I would just be high as a kite. It just depends on what the energy is like in the theater, because the energy then, especially with the one-woman show, in my experience, that energy that you get from an audience, that's quite impacting as well. And then on a film set, I mean, if I look at Lioness, where, I mean, I was start to finish, first in, last out. Yeah. I think I had maybe 4 days off. I had 4 days off in the second season. And that was 12 to 14-hour days. And that really is just, I did all my prep right up front. I knew all my lines before we even started. And then when we got onto set, it was really just about getting on our feet, doing it out loud with other cast members. It's a marathon. They're both a marathon, just in different ways. I get a bit antsy with theater because, there's a certain time you go on. And then there's like 3 to 4 hours that you allot, or if you're doing musical theater, if you're doing something longer, then it can maybe be 6 hours. But when you're on films, it's just it's almost like the difference between running and swimming. It's a different way of breathing. It's just a different fitness. The most important thing for any of them is eat right, sleep well, hydrate, stay off sugar, stay off the carbs. You want clean so that your body is replenishing and working in its own beautiful homeostasis.
Now, I find it quite fascinating. Your character, Sandra Stein, has crossed over a variety of different shows you portray on Legacy. I didn't realize that it had hopped along to different things. So when you first created that character on the first program that you portrayed, did you think at the time that you would be hopping and creating this character in all different iterations?
Never in a million years. I thought she was just going to come on to the Queen. The late Shauna Ferguson had said, she's coming in for this one storyline. And I just thought, great. And then another storyline happened. And I was like, wonderful. And, lawyers, they're very useful, helpful, characters to have around. And then when Patu and Gwydion reached out to Shauna to say, would you mind if we cross Sandra over to the river? He was only too happy, and I was only too happy. And then it went to Gomorrah, and then it went to Legacy, and then, and even the Throne. She's very utilitarian. She can just fit in and out of these spaces. And then for, the second season of Law, Love and Betrayal, I mean, I never would have thought it. And I had a conversation with Connie Ferguson a couple of years ago, and I said to her, do you think Shauna knew that Sandra would be such a fan favorite? And she looked at me and she said, he knew. I didn't, but, I thank the theater gods for that one.
Are you allowed to tell us anything about Law, Love and Betrayal?
No. I may play a lawyer. But legally, I know that it would not be good for me to say anything. And I don't want to create any spoilers because I think, they've spent a long time putting it together, and I'm just excited to see, how people receive season 2, because season 1 was very well received. I think people will be in for a really fantastic thrill
to see where Sandra hits us on our screens in the next iteration. Will be exciting to see.
I mean, I would love to see her. I think there's so much that one can do with Sandra Stein, and I've developed a spin-off. I'm a very dear friend of mine and a colleague, Natasha Sutherland, developing some story arcs, and I'd love to get Sandra's take. I'd like to do something from Sandra's perspective, where she doesn't really come in and out of story, where it's her story and the people in her world. So, well, we do have something which I think is quite special, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what the theatre gods will allow.
Again, I recognize that it's very secretive in your guys' world. Is there anything you can tell us that's coming up over the next period of time?
I've been sitting in Cape Town now. I was at a table read all day today on a new production, and I'm not allowed to tell you anything about that either.
I completely get it. I'd love your observation of this next topic. A lot of, especially in Hollywood, producers are requesting now simplified scripts because people are now on their cell phones while they're watching TVs or movies, which drives me insane and just irritates me. What are your thoughts around this whole topic and debate?
So the second screen content is a very real thing. And I think that's why vertical series are now becoming very popular. Barrett, I despair, because the richness of storytelling is being diluted, unfortunately. And the entertainment industry is making this pivot because we are dealing with cell phones, this constant contraption, companion, distraction. That's why, for me, I think the resurgence of theatre is so imperative, because you can't have your cell phone in there and be on and watch at the same time. But the thing is that what I hope will happen is that people will start to realize that it's almost like this, I don't want to say dumbing down, because I don't want to speak too negative here, but it's becoming very distilled. Yeah. So it's like we're losing the essence. We're losing the development of character, of plot, where you don't even have to really watch a screen. You can just kind of listen and be over here. And it's just, we're forgetting how to listen. We're forgetting how to be present. And at some point, that's got to create some kind of discomfort. Because the reason that we watch these things is not to just escape. It's to learn. It's to see ourselves through someone else. It's to feel seen in a way that what we do and what movies offer, or television or theatre, is to be transcended somewhere, to be transported somewhere. And that's not happening. I don't like it, but it's a reality. And we are now contending with AI. We are contending with so many things. And honestly, I long for a simpler time. I bumped into a friend at the airport yesterday waiting for the flight. And she was sitting in the front of the plane and I was sitting in the back of the plane. The next thing, I get a message on my phone and she writes to me, she goes, "Crap, my Kindle's just conked out. What am I going to do for 2 hours?" And I took a photo of my book and I was like, I'm old school. I don't want to read my books on a Kindle. I don't like AirPods. Firstly, all the radiation in my brain. Well, it's also doing things to our hearing. The hertz are the hertz are hurting. And I'm just like, I'm old school. Sorry, no, I'm going to say this. Vintage, babes. I want more vintage times. I miss those times. But I'll be interested to see where we all are in, gosh, not even 10 years, 2 years. I'm worried. Things are happening just too fast.
Too fast, exactly.
We're not allowing things to unfold. It's that we're losing its essence and its magic. And I hope and I long for a time that it will be restored in a way that is bountiful.
I totally agree. And I can't remember who, but another actor I spoke to I can't remember if it was the National Film and Television Awards or someone, they said to me, in fact, the producers should be making the shows and movies more interesting, more convoluted and more compelling so that people actually put their phones down and will be like, wow.
You forget about it. Like that it was so good. You know what? It's like, how about this? Like the show's so good that somehow you're like, okay, hang on, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to go. I just want to grab a cup of tea. And then maybe you go and you have a tinkle and you go and get your tea and then you sit down and you watch the show and you think, where's my phone? And you accidentally put it in the fridge while you put the milk away. Like that's what I would like. That's the world I'd like, where we just forget our devices entirely. And we're just, devoted, committed.
Past, present, passed away, or still alive, 5 actors, locally, internationally, who are on your bucket list that you'd like to collaborate with on stage or in front of the camera.
Okay. Because I have this deep romantic love for the golden era of Hollywood, I would love to have worked with Katharine Hepburn, even though I believe that she was very challenging to work with on Golden Pond. But I absolutely would. I mean, I just have a thing for Katharine Hepburn. I'd love to work with Glenn Close. I'd like to work with Tom Hardy. To think about some local actors. I'm lucky in that I've been able to share screen with so many wonderful performers. You might think this is hysterical, but I would love to have watched Marilyn Monroe work. I'm so fascinated by that whole time and period. And James Dean.
Couple of them won't be able to happen because obviously they're past, but let's put those others out there that they happen. Tom Hardy, Glenn Close. Next set, let's put it there.
Oh, let's put it out there.
So, Shannon, the podcast is listened to throughout the world. As a final message, what would you like to say?
Be kind, be compassionate. Demand more from the stories that you're watching. Because if we, as audiences, if we stop watching this stuff because it's maybe boring, then don't watch it. And demand better things, because we want to create those beautiful, robust stories for you. We want to be on those sets. We want to be on those stages. Yeah. Demand more. And don't settle.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Celeb Savant. Please follow Barrett on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Celeb Savant. That's CelebSavant.